Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 is one of the best endings to any franchises ever, and there's a lot going on in the final battle, so there's no doubt we missed some details when we first watched it. The final installment of the Harry Potter films had a rather large amount of pressure on it to end the story in a satisfying way. Fortunately for us, the viewers, it smashed our expectations and the film was met with fantastic reviews. We saw the Great War finally take place that we all knew was coming, but we also saw a wonderful wrap-up to smaller storylines in the series. The great final battle felt so epic, yet so grounded in storyline and character development at the same time. With so much going on, it's easy to miss things in such a chaotic battle. Whether those are small nods to previous films in the series, or super small details for the hardcore Harry Potter fans. Let's dive deep into 10 Easter eggs you missed in Harry Potter's final battle. Let's go! Probably the coolest entry on this list is the fact that during the crazy final battle between good and evil, Harry, Ron, and Hermione encounter every single movie along the way. Let me explain. When the trio is running through the castle trying to get to Snape,
more on that later,
they are first attacked by a troll, which of course is a reference to the Sorcerer's Stone, or Philosopher's Stone if you're not in America. Next, they encounter giant spiders, which brings us back to that scene in the forest in Chamber of Secrets. Then they come across a werewolf, and that's a reference to Prisoner of Azkaban. Then a dead lavender brown. Goblet of fire, baby! And then they're on the bridge and a swarm of Dementors are flying through. That sounds a whole lot like the Order of the Phoenix. And then finally, they reach Snape, the Half-Blood Prince, baby. Boy, what an awesome tribute to every film in the series. There's a lot of Harry Potter lore that you would miss if you did not read the novels, because a good chunk of it is left out of the movies, and this film is no different. The most powerful wand in history is the Elder Wand, and it ends up in Harry's possession. This happens after he defeats Lord Voldemort.
Spoiler.
In the movie, Harry snaps it in half and throws it off a bridge, which seems a little excessive considering it's the most powerful wand in history, but whatever you want, Harry. In the book, however, Harry actually uses this wand to fix his own wand. He then takes the Elder Wand and puts it back to Dumbledore's grave,
Spoiler.
hoping it will lose all its power in time. Which honestly seems like the better thing to do rather than snapping it in half and throwing it over a bridge. This one is a really small detail that I am just in love with. So we see Bellatrix, the cousin of Sirius Black, and she becomes a Death Eater and becomes super loyal to Lord Voldemort and seemed to be one of the most dangerous and sadistic of his followers. During the final battle, she was the last Death Eater alive, but she was eventually ended by Molly Weasley after she attempted to end Ginny Weasley. Anywho, if you go back and watch the final battle featuring both Voldemort and Bellatrix, you will notice that she always moves to stand on Voldemort's right-hand side. This is typically the position that the most loyal and trusted follower takes, so that it makes sense that that's where she would stand. What a wonderfully small detail, and I can't get over how awesome that is. Severus Snape is a pretty complex character to say the least, and he has a love-hate relationship with Harry Potter. You find out why that is later on in the film when we see Snape's memory via the pensieve. Snape, of course, being in love with Lily, Harry's mother, and Harry reminded Snape of both Lily and her love James. Harry was the living proof that Lily had given her love to somebody else, and Snape wasted no time showing contempt and anger towards Harry. In the final battle, when Harry discovered Snape's love for his mother, and the constant danger he put himself in to ensure Harry's safety, Harry forgave him despite Snape's often cruel treatment of him. During this moment, for the first time in the entire film series, Snape calls Harry by his first name and not by Potter or Mr. Potter, also telling Harry that he has his mother's eyes. Boy, that's just sad. This one is very important. There is one small deleted scene that was filmed but never made the final cut, and it drastically changes the character of Draco Malfoy. Tom Felton's Malfoy rejoins up with Voldemort when he returns to Hogwarts with Harry's dead body in tow. However, in this deleted scene, Malfoy quickly switches sides again when Harry reveals that he's still alive. Pretty fishy, I gotta say. Malfoy rushes forward off the line of defense and throws Harry his wand back, shouting Potter as he does so emotionally. Potter! We think this scene was most likely cut to keep the focus on Harry and Voldemort as Harry springs back to life. But regardless, it's still a fantastic scene, and it really changes things. This is wonderful. I love awkward moments, and boy do we have one. If you watched the final battle and you thought to yourself, boy, that hug that Draco Malfoy and Voldemort had was pretty awkward, well, you weren't alone, and there's a wonderful reason for it. To say Voldemort is not the most loving character is quite the understatement, Boy, that man is evil. Anyways, it was pretty surprising to see him hug Malfoy during the final battle. It turns out that it was also surprising for Tom Felton, who played Malfoy, because of the fact that the hug was completely improvised in that moment. Tom Felton said during the 2011 Comic-Con, quote, "It was pretty terrifying, to be honest with you. This wasn't in the script. We did that take like 25 times. He only hugged me once. It was a one-off thing that he just threw at me. I was just standing there like, what the hell is he doing? Why is he hugging me in this weird fashion? It was very strange." End quote. It's so funny that the one take he hugged him is the one take that they used in the film, and I'm so glad to see Malfoy's awkward reaction was completely natural. Alrighty, the Room of Requirement, also known as the Come and Go Room, is a secret room within Hogwarts, and it only appears when a person is in great need of it. A very interesting concept if you ask me. The only way to open it is to walk past it 3 times thinking about what you need, and the door will appear. The Room of Requirement makes its first appearance in the Order of the Phoenix, but it's a crucial location in the final movie. The Diadem of Ravenclaw, a Horcrux, is in the hidden room, but when Harry, Ron, and Hermione try to find it, they are chased by Draco and company. As the trio make their escape, when they enter the room, throughout you can see a few nods to the previous films. Notable ones are the chess pieces from the Sorcerer's Stone and Gilderoy Lockhart's Cornish pixies from the Chamber of Secrets. The props department apparently filled the room with props and objects they used in the first few films. I found it interesting to learn that Snape's death,
spoiler,
took place somewhere else in the books. In the book, Voldemort kills Snape in the Shrieking Shack, which is a location that actually has a lot of history for my man in black. Back in his school days, he followed Remus Lupin, Sirius Black, James Potter, and Peter Pettigrew there in hopes of getting them in trouble, only to be killed by Remus as a werewolf and saved by James Potter. Then, as a teacher, he caught Harry, Ron, and Hermione in the shack with Remus and Sirius, and Snape tried to arrest the 2 older wizards, only for Harry to disarm him and knock him out before the truth about Scabbers/Peter Pettigrew was revealed. Anyways, enough backstory. Art director Andrew Ackland Snow explained in an interview, "We wanted him to get out from not a conventional interior, but from that kind of box, to do it in a more dramatic atmosphere." End quote. Yeah, I guess. I mean, the man dies. Just end him someplace. But I can't deny the historical significance of the death's location in the book. A little side note that I found amazing is that the same soundtrack is played at the end of this film when Harry's child boards the Hogwarts Express as when Harry first leaves for Hogwarts in the first movie. But that's not what we're here for. This next one, it doesn't necessarily have to do with the final battle, but the final battle has everything to do with this. We're here to say that the final movie is actually the shortest one of the bunch, which is kind of surprising considering it's the final chapter. Think about Return of the King. It's the longest Lord of the Rings movie. Avengers Endgame is the longest one of the MCU. This film, however, is the shortest, running at 130 minutes, which is surprising even when you factor in that the story was split into 2 movies. The longest Harry Potter movie is actually the second one, Chamber of Secrets, which clocks in at 161 minutes. A couple of things to point out before we get into our last one. In the epilogue, after the final battle, we see Harry, Ron, Hermione, Ginny, and Draco when they are all grown up and married with children. Good show. Draco is seen saying goodbye to his son and his wife, and it was Felton's real-life then-girlfriend who played his wife in the scenes. Kind of awkward because they're no longer together. The other note is that this is the only movie where Harry Potter does not deliver the final line of the movie. Instead, the final line is spoken by his son, Albus. He says, "Ready." Very cute. Anyways, back to the final entry. In that same scene, we see Harry Potter without his famous scar. I never noticed this. The scar defines him as a character, and it also causes him some serious pain throughout the series. In that final shot, you can barely see the scar because it almost has completely faded away. The scar was connecting him to Lord Voldemort, and with this scene long in the future, that connection with Voldemort is rather distant. A wonderful happy ending for our wizard boy. Regardless of the controversy surrounding J.K. Rowling nowadays, the Harry Potter franchise has remained one of the most popular film series of all time. We were glad to see that the Deathly Hallows Part 2 was an epic conclusion to the film series. We laughed, we cried, we had a massively and exciting, terrifying war, and it all seemed to wrap up just nicely. The bit of Harry's son traveling to Hogwarts for the first time just brought me back to 2001 when we first saw Harry embark on his first adventure. This fantastic world of Harry Potter continues with our wonderful pal Albus Potter. Could we see a possible film adaptation of The Cursed Child? Chris Columbus, who directed the first 2 movies, said he was absolutely interested. I am hopeful. Alright kids, and there you have it. 10 things you missed in the final battle of Harry Potter. Which ones did you notice? Did you notice any ones that we didn't? If so, let us know in the comments below. And as always everybody, thanks for watching.